Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to EA Live. Today's is an exciting episode because we're celebrating an achievement from someone in our community. Mati Peters is coming close to finalizing his 100 clonables challenge. One clonable a day on Webflow, and you probably have seen him on Twitter all around. He's been in the community for many, many years now. We're excited to have him join us today. So, Mati, welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Pablo, for the introduction. I'm happy to be here. Really excited to share my journey with these 100 days of Webflow interactions and clonables. It's been hard. And yeah, still, I think I'm a little bit late for the 100. I think I have three still, but yeah, I'm happy. I'm already done.
Yeah, I mean, you've got what is it, 98?
I think I 97. I think today I'm 2 days behind today. Tomorrow is supposed to be the 100, but let's see if I'm able to do those three at some point today or tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, it's good to catch up with you. And as Pablo was saying, like, you've been in the space forever. It was great to meet you at the first No Code conference, and it was like 2018, 2019. I don't even know when it was.
19, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you've done a bunch of work with FinSuite. You've been running your own shop for a long time now. I mean, when did you get started in Webflow?
So the first time I knew about Webflow, it was 2014. I was working at that time in New Zealand for a digital agency, but I didn't get into full Webflow mode until 2017, when I took the decision of basing my practice on this platform.
What drew you? Why did you decide to make that change?
To be honest, it's kind of I wasn't really getting clients. At that point, I was relying on Upwork a lot for my clients, and I have had a few of them, but my practice wasn't really taking off. And I had this in my mind, like, should I turn into Webflow completely or not? Yes or no? And I said, let's do it and just jump into that. And I think 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later of publishing my new site for that, Joe from FinSuite reached out and asked me to join the FinSuite team. So it was a really good timing.
That's great. Yeah, and I know you did a bunch of great work there, and it's been amazing to see. Really, like a whole. I mean, you come from a really good design and development background, right? I mean, you mostly focus on development now, but I mean, I think you have obviously like a really good design eye, especially looking at within like these clones. Like, they're beautiful. Any one of them, I've been looking at. I'm like there's some stuff like the one with the layers that goes like this. We tried to do that maybe maybe it was like 3 years ago, and it was like just super cumbersome. But what's your design background like?
Yeah, so I'm a designer. I went to college for design, and I started working as a digital designer, doing digital assets for companies. But already in high school, I don't know why, one teacher taught us HTML and CSS when frame set and all those kind of things were a thing of the HTML. And so I had that background and was interested into code. So did a little bit of WordPress as well when I was like doing my design work. So yeah, my background is design. And then when I found out Webflow and turned completely into Webflow, also I started as doing both design and Webflow, but I felt like this is like doing a website is too much work, and I want to focus, and decided to make that transition into just development. But always, like, design is kind of always there, and I really want to work with high quality designs, and yeah, it's really important for me, that part as well.
That's awesome. Also, just wanted to say quick hello to Dale. Good to see you in the chat here. Creative Book Club. Excited you're here as well. Anyone has questions, just go ahead and throw them in the chat. And one of the questions I had for you was that you had posted something, and this kind of gets back to your design, the sort of like love of design that you have around wanting to work with more design or brand agencies, and like what's kind of your thought there, and how's that process been going?
Yeah, so it's changed a little bit. So the reason why I wanted to work with brand agencies is that, of course, these agencies, they need development help to, maybe if they don't have it in-house, they probably outsource development, or maybe if they have it in-house, there could be peaks of work where they need to outsource some of the work. So that was one reason. The other reason was that I wanted to deliver, like, to work, to be doing development, but a really high level of design quality. And if I do the right partnership with the right brand agencies, I could be working and at this level. And all this come from a project I did like 1.5 years ago, when I was working with a really cool company called Otherward. And I think it came from one of a referral from a team, someone in your team. That is like a connection with the marketing guy in from the client. And these people, the brand agency, were really good. They really knew what they wanted in terms of design, and they were preparing the design files, prepared for development in a really good way. And this is the first time I really felt I was working with people that really knew web design. Not just like someone who called web design, but they don't really prepare a style guide, or they don't keep things really clean for this development. And this was a really nice experience to work, not only because of the quality of the design itself, but of the quality of the files they were delivering to me.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that can sometimes be difficult when working with brand teams, is that there'll be great ideas, and then you'll get an InDesign file. What do you think, as you're talking with brand teams, what are the things that you try to get them prepped for on how to deliver to to yourself and to just like devs in general?
So the thing that I found the most critical is that they need to understand that we are designing for responsive or fluid viewports. What I mean by that is that, okay, you are designing on Figma or whatever on a 1440, but remember that if you are doing like crazy layouts or something special, remember how that's going to look at 2500 or so. Just so they can keep in mind how that's going to work as I access that site from different viewports. That's one thing. Then also another thing to keep in mind is colors. Okay, we have brand colors, but we don't want 50 shades of gray around the site, and we can minimize that to 2, 3, 4, whatever. And the same goes for typography. We want to be really concise on the type scale that we're using, and create some logic around that, because the most important thing is that development is built upon logic. You need to build like logic rules, like when you build your classes and how things relate to each other. So having a little bit of that thought while in the design phase helps a lot after in the development phase.
Yeah, I think having a kind of more mathematical approach to the work, especially as you're getting into type, and then thinking about like what to do with color, is like so important. And also just kind of recognizing that color can have an impact on experience. Just like red is often, associated with an error, and how to be able to use that carefully. And then, blue can obviously build trust, but, it might not be the thing that's going to help to really like drive someone to action. So I think trying to think about that and to steer those teams in different ways. Do you ever run into issues with working with these teams around accessibility, or how do you kind of help them to understand, contrast, and just making sure that like, they can be read within different environments?
Yeah. To be honest, So one thing to point here, I'm getting into accessibility as I use Webflow, and as accessibility is a more a topic that is heard more and more.
Yep.
I say that this because I haven't been really close to accessibility until like recently with what I've seen from Webflow with their checklist, and also people in the community sharing about that. But normally, that being said, the designs I receive are they respect like the basic accessibility points that that a site needs to have. That being said, I haven't run into a project where the accessibility was really key. In that case, I will hire or will call someone who is an expert in that field, so he can go with me in that case. Yeah, but for the time being, is that's how I'm approaching accessibility.
Yeah, I mean, it's a one. I don't think you're alone there, because it's something that's like obviously very important, and it's like how to be able to balance that, and it's not just the role of the designer. It's like how to be able to think about when authoring content, like getting alt tags in there and structuring the collections in a particular type of way, and what to do with all sorts of things. So there is that's like it's like a definitely a bigger topic. But before we get too in the weeds, I'd love to take a step back and again talk about these 100 clones and I mean, this is like a huge accomplishment. Like, what was the driver? Like, why did you like wake up one morning and you're like, you know what? Life's not hard enough. I think I'm going to go and have a 100-day challenge. What drove you to that?
So on October, I launched my agency called Bookmark, and the idea of this agency, as you mentioned, is to provide Webflow services to brand agencies. And I thought, okay, so I shared a couple of tweets about that, about sending cold emailing, and I wasn't really feeling it. You gave me a couple of tips, I think there. Tried twice, but I felt like kind of, I don't know if dirty is the word, but kind of this is not for me. I think I'm still not done. I still need to learn about those things, but I say, okay, what can I do to get attention and maybe land some client on this space? So the initial thought was, okay, I'm gonna look into people I like their design work, and I'm gonna create a little interaction from that design that I'm seeing, and that was the main goal. Like, okay, if I keep for 100 days, this is really huge. I'm sure I'm gonna land one client at the end of this challenge. That hasn't been the case. Okay. I've learned other things, but that's the main drive. Like, okay, kind of a marketing. It has been like, it was like a marketing initiative, okay, but in the end, it's more like a community initiative where people has been able to clone it. People are really impressed of. So I think people have learned that you can do a lot of stuff with Webflow interactions without the need of code, and you can get really complex stuff just with what Webflow provides. And I think that that's a really good accomplishment as well, like people knowing what's possible.
Yeah. New business is challenging. I mean, I'm challenged with it every day, and I don't have any, like, there's no silver bullet. And I don't think like you're alone in feeling like there's some people that are great at the cold email. Matt from 80/20, like he's had some really successful cold emails. Emily from the Great Design League podcast, like she had a cold email over to who was it, Zipcar, where she's now working. But what have you learned through this project? Like, what has been probably the thing that's most successful?
I think I've learned that when you share a goal with the public, when you make it publicly, you feel like that's a way of you're making the world feel you accountable for that. Okay, so I say I'm gonna do this 100-day challenge, and I need to deliver. And I've learned that even I thought I wasn't able to do it, I have been able to do it. So that's huge. Like, okay, if now I feel I can do this again. I also know that what that implies in terms of effort, and to be more conscious on when to do it, or how much I commit to that, and in terms of days. That's one thing. Like, making it public really helps. I think I had a list, and maybe I can bring in, but that was one thing.
Yeah, well, maybe while you're finding that list, I'll just share a snippet around like, we had a similar kind of ambitious project with Letter Run,
Yeah,
and
that was great.
like, and I, also had the experience of building it. Or I would say like there's this idea of like building in public, which for me just feel like I understand that, but it's been tainted by kind of just like tech broness, of like, oh, I've got like X amount of conversions or stuff along those lines. But I like the idea of sharing often, and just the idea of sharing. And I think that's something that you did really well. You brought people along on the good days and bad days. Like you're like, hey, I wasn't able to, clone, or I haven't been able to get, ideas out there. I've got some stuff that I've been working on or whatever. And I think it's okay to like, just it's like if you got to take a day off, like there was times within Letter Run we didn't know if we were going to launch it, quite a few days, but it was that sharing of the idea, and again letting people come along within that journey, where by the time it was ready and we launched it, that there was a lot of people that were excited about it. The other thing I'll say, just in terms of new business, is like we haven't won any 3JS projects from that project, so it's like we learned a whole lot around 3JS, but we haven't, it wasn't just like, it's like, oh, you get on the awards page and all of a sudden just like the floodgates come open. It's not that at all. I think it did help to put like our capabilities on the map, if this makes sense, and to be able to show what we've been able to do outside of just the typical SaaS site, which I think most sites really shouldn't win awards, right? So our job should really be to help our clients win more business, not to go and have something that we're just kind of impressing each other with, if that kind of kind of where that's going.
Yeah.
But yeah, so curious if what else did you learn?
Well, before I go into that, I want to also like celebrate that. I was really like impressed by your work on letter 11, and it's impressive work, and it's like top for me. And what I need to say here is that I think these things like the letter 11 thing or my 100-day challenge, differences apart, is part of a longer journey. We all do these things, like they take a lot of effort, and we want to have a return like the day after or even the same day, and it's normal to have that feeling. But I guess that is part of a longer journey, and of course that's a really huge milestone. In your case, the letter 11, or in my case, the 100-day challenge, and it will bring back things, but more like paced out in the future.
Yep.
And going back to what I've learned, I also learned that it's really important to deliver. Like, stop thinking. I spent like too many weeks before starting the challenge. Like, okay, I'm gonna automate this, so it will launch this tweet, and then in LinkedIn, and then this new item in Notion. And I was thinking all these things, and took me a lot of time, money, because I hired someone as well to build that automation. Then it didn't work. And then you just start doing the stuff you really want to do, that is doing interactions, and you realize that you don't need all that thing you were thinking you needed. So what I learned here, the lesson for me was, start doing the thing you want to do, and you will find out how the other things, the more secondary things, as you go. You don't need to have everything sorted out at the beginning. And the other thing that I learned as well is, like, sometimes I spend like a lot of time for a single interaction, for a single day, maybe 4 hours, 5 hours, and then few likes. And then I do something really quick, like in 20, 30 minutes, and it's boom. I say, wow. So it's really important to, I don't know, to, I think to share as often as you can, so you can get that feedback from the people, and understand what are they looking for, what they like, and find that balance between what you want to do and what people are looking for. And now, for example, you realize in this 100-day challenge, I've been doing a lot of portfolio showcase, like how to showcase your portfolio, because I realized that in the Webflow community, people are looking for that's what gets the more attention, and also is where I can get more creative as well in terms of interactions.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think you're right with again being able to get that feedback, seeing kind of again where's the sort of demand, and learning with people, and also just not overthinking it, to be able to not over engineer, and kind of just in time kind of engineering.
Yeah.
And we've got a couple comments here. Dale's talking about how this project's been really good for the rest of the Webflow community. So a lot of people have been able to benefit, from this work. And then Star, who's new, it's I like these clonables, little trophy in there. So what maybe we could do is I'm going to try screen sharing, and I'd love to just I've queued up your clone page. And I thought we could just kind of start there and talk about, kind of going back in time here. So let me see how to screen share here. I'm going to present. Hopefully it doesn't like make me, I don't know, like extra camera, screen share. Here we go. All right. Don't show me this again. All right. Bookmark. Okay.
Well, as you bring that up, I wanted to mention that I was about 2 times to stop the challenge. I was like, this is really hard. I cannot do it. I need to take care of my family, take care of clients.
Yeah.
And I was about to, and I think because it was public, it was something people knew about it. I found the way to do it. I found the way to just keep doing it. And once you go through that like deep, you just keep going.
Yeah, I had such a similar experience with Letter Run, in that again we would I didn't, if you had told me that it would have taken a year, I wouldn't have done it. And that was not like I thought, I was like, oh, this, I mean, how hard could it be? And like we had some early successes, and then but then it was like figuring out all the little stuff is really where it came down. So let me come in. I'm going to screen share, and everyone's going to see all of this here for a second. All right, so you can see the clones here.
Yeah. There's a question. I don't know if we should answer it.
Sure.
Before we. I think I kind of answered like, there were 2 times where I wanted to give up. Once was during Christmas holidays because kids were at home, no school, and like I didn't have the routine, and it was really hard. So that's one time where I grabbed some of my archives and some old interactions that I just polished for that. And the discipline, I don't know. I haven't been that disciplined. Like sometimes there were 2 or 3 days without doing, and then I had to do 3 in a row, something like that. I know that I had like 15 interactions by the time I started. So I had this buffer, but then really quick those went through, and I don't know. I think making it public was the main thing for me.
That's awesome. I'm just scrolling up here, and it's just just even getting these designs together. I love, like I've scrolled up and down on this a few different times, and just seeing kind of like all the variety. It's been amazing.
I need to say that these are not mostly all of them, like a good bunch of them are not my design work. Is design from others that I've sometimes they were static and I do them in Webflow, or sometimes they're already animated and I recreate them in Webflow. So I want to also acknowledge that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, even just kind of like doing the production to get them in, and finding them. I don't know if, like even just finding 100 things to clone, that's quite the mood board.
And you know what other thing that also like is behind this challenge is that I've, as a designer, I spent a lot of time in Dribble, and I've been really annoyed by you go in Dribble with really nice interactions, but they are done in After Effects.
Yeah.
Okay. And how this would look like in a real website, and that's also like kind of my own challenge. I wanted to bring that movement that can be done on a real website, not just After Effects.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And being able to, like, as you said, sort of bring it to life, and then how it works in different viewports. I'm not going to scale it down right now, but this is just one. Where did this one start?
So this is Shania is a designer from the UK,
Mhm.
and she had this screenshot on her website, a static screenshot, and I
Mhm.
thought, okay, I want to animate uh, those columns, those like grid items
Mhm.
on mouse move, and then also the arrow. The arrow is not Webflow native. That's code moving the arrow. Um, and yeah, basically what's happening here is that I'm updating the width and height of the elements depending on the mouse position. Yeah.
That's awesome. What so kind of within these first, we'll just take them kind of bit by bit within the, let's say the first 10. What were you thinking and how were you approaching this? What were you sort of learning here in the early stages?
Here I had like a list of brand agencies I would like to work with,
Okay.
and I went through their work and select something I liked and just build. And for me, in the beginning especially, was really easy to just see something and I knew how I was going to animate it, or at least I knew how I wanted to start. Then of course you find some hurdles along the way, but yeah. So, and the idea was, as I was saying before, is to mention these people in the tweet that I was sharing these clonables, so I could get their attention and probably get get hired. uh, this a studio from the UK as well. They did a really good brand work for these the Suns. It's a building, like a really old building, and they created like the new brand for this building is like an iconic building. And yeah, this was really hard to build. Like
Yeah, that looks
uh,
insane.
um, so all the first round is all about that, like
Yeah.
work from brand agencies that I liked, and I found a way of how to animate them. As you can see, they're more like kind of artistic. There's no much layout. Like it's not something that you can use on a regular Webflow project. You know, it's like just like to have fun, to see how it works, and if you like it, you can go and see how it is built. But there's no like a practical way of using this on a build.
Makes sense. What type of conversations have you had? I think that was really smart in terms of finding work from design agencies and then, kind of rebuilding that.
So there wasn't there hasn't been any conversation. Do you
Hmm.
mean with the actual brand agencies?
Yeah.
Well, I think some of them have like my work, maybe thank you for cloning or nice work, but that has been the whole interaction, not
Yeah.
much. I've got a couple of leads, like not from things that I've done, but
Hmm.
other like creative directors or brand agencies. Hey, I like what you're doing. Let's
Yeah.
talk.
Awesome.
So it opened a couple of doors that haven't been closed yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I found was, I mean, at least again, just for what I saw is like, it wasn't, it wasn't like the day that we launched. It wasn't the month after we launched. It was again, sort of just this drumbeat that began, and that, we've continued to have those conversations and starting to just like pick up that momentum. And I think that's the thing that can sometimes be difficult, is just how slow all of this stuff can move. But then all of a sudden there's things that, you know, that really start to change. This is just beautiful. This is one of my, like,
For example, this one is this one was the first time, and I was like, I cannot do this. Like this is too much. Like 100 days, and this is something I've done in the past, and I just like drop it here and share it. And this is a really nice creative developer who do this kind of stuff. And this was done, I think, maybe 2-3 years ago.
Okay.
And yeah, drop it here. Yeah,
That's awesome. What's one of your favorite ones?
I think more to the second half, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
let's
coming up
go.
past
Let's go.
50.
I think this one was this one, the one with the angle, like the one below that, the one below this one.
Oh yeah, this one I remember looking at this inclined scroll.
Yeah, so it wasn't. I thought it was more difficult, but it wasn't really like it's normal scroll, but with a small tilt on one of the wrappers, and you can make that really easy to. So I was surprised sometimes of how easy it was to do something that in the beginning looked really, really hard, like really to keep, like, because you want, like, as you start scrolling, you are in the first slide,
Yeah.
and as you finish, you want to be with the last one in the center of the screen.
Yep.
And those sort of things. I like this one. And there's like a second version of this one where it's more like polish or more with more stuff. Yeah,
This one?
no, the one at the top, portfolio landing.
Oh yeah, this is where it curves around. And
Yeah.
then you did another one where they would flip from the side. Yeah.
So that first one we saw was kind of the starting point. I wanted to do this, but I knew I couldn't do this on one go. So that's why I did that incline scrolling the first. Then I did some sort of image manipulation, like kind of perspective manipulation.
Yep.
And then I brought those together to create this one.
That's awesome. And kind of what's happening here is, correct me if I'm wrong, you have a mask. So this isn't like any crazy JavaScript, anything along those lines. You have sort of a mask that you're using over the top of an image.
So everything here is native. And what's happening really, like if you see here to the left and right, that curved, there are like circles that are overlaying the images. So that gives this sensation. There's like kind of a rotating thing. But yeah, it's just a black circle on top of that. And then I'm playing a little bit with the perspective of the image. That's why it helps. It helps that feeling.
It's mesmerizing.
And I think the last one with the portfolio showcase, I really like those. And also I never play with 3D with Webflow interaction, and playing with 3D was a really way of understanding how these things work in the web, because I never worked with 3D before, like just simple stuff. If you click the button,
there we go. That's amazing.
And it's not really, sorry?
Yeah, and so this is the sort of like faux 3D, right? It's where you're just manipulating divs and skewing that. Is that right?
Well, it's not really skew. It's like 3D planes and then rotating them so you can see the 3D shape.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I guess what I was saying is, like, it's not like you brought in a model, right? So this is like all dynamic inside of Webflow.
Sorry, repeat that.
Oh, you didn't bring in a model. This is like actually dynamic inside of Webflow meeting with.
Yeah. That's the other thing that I've always been really. I really wanted to build everything in Webflow, like because sometimes people rely on other things when you can do it in Webflow, and sometimes it's hard to balance when it makes sense to jump into custom code onto some third application. But I really like to push Webflow to its limits to see what you can do, and then you can just copy this and change colors really easily. You don't need to. There's no plugins here. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then we have the other 3D cube over here.
It was like the initial experiment for the next one.
Proof of concept. It's interesting to see the sort of evolution.
And then I like this one, the loader animation, because you can do what I'm doing here is that it just isn't a normal. It's really simple. It's rotation. The only thing is you're moving the center of rotation. In Webflow in 3D in transforms, you click those three dots and you can move the 3D, like where's the point where it's rotating the element, and I'm making that center of rotation the same as the center of the circle, of the gray circle. So like knowing. I posted like 50% of interaction is placing your divs right. And I would even say like 80% of interaction is placing your divs right.
Yeah, I can see that.
This one was really also, I saw like a video on Instagram from a nice brand agency, and I wanted to replicate that video with interactions. Wow.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been through a lot of these. I haven't even like clicked on all 100 of them. I love the liquid button. This was really great.
This one is a tricky. It's really hacky, this one, because it's like playing with filters, with blur, but then putting like a mask on top of it. It's really intricated. This one is not really trivial. I wanted to create that sensation of bubbles that are like kind of I don't know how to call it in English, but they kind of bubbly. I don't know, these lava lamps.
Yeah, there's what is the word, like elasticity, so that like it's sort of pulling and pulling that shape together.
Yeah, elasticity. Yeah, that could be a way of calling that.
Um,
And
Also, I don't know how to say that in Spanish, so you're way ahead of me.
a good thing also as well that you passed through. If you go a little bit down, like
Yep.
this one with the one to the left. Well, these both, I guess. I was experimenting with AI, so this is also this is everything custom code, and I just typed into ChatGPT what I wanted to accomplish, and it gave me the code. So and I know a lot of, I don't know if a lot, but a few people are using ChatGPT as their code assistant for those things where Webflow doesn't get, and I've used it as well. Like, okay, I want to build a table of contents, so I want to build something that is not natively possible. You can do it really easily with ChatGPT if you know how to prompt.
Yeah, we've been experimenting with that a lot, and I feel like what's interesting is that, there's something I'm talking a lot with different people on is this idea of kind of moving from no code to knowing code, and that no code, I think it was a great idea as it related to just like Webflow getting a foot in the market and things like that. But there's so many different ways to build declaratively, and AI really allows you now to build declaratively. And sure, so some of that is like it's written language, so it's like written code, but that's okay, right? So it's still like you just went in and prompted to be like, hey, go in and do X, Y, or Z. Maybe there's going to be an array in there, or you need to be able to set some variables, or things like that. But it's not just like the problem with code from the beginning is like you leave off a semicolon or things along those lines and things just stop working. But just I think looking at other ways to be able to build for the web, I think that's where things get really exciting. There was one up here. So this is one that we had tried to build a couple years ago. And so
if you scroll all the way up, you will see the same one, but apply with with images, with like a more like a portfolio look of the clone. But yeah, it's the same behavior.
Okay.
So this is just like, it's really simple in the end. It's like divs that are placed in the Z axis. So I'm moving them like away from the viewer, and then with the scroll interaction and just bringing them, I'm moving the whole thing towards the viewer, and that's how it is accomplished. It's simple.
Yeah, I cloned this one, so I'm one of your cloners in there.
Nice.
Yeah, and what other? These are I know this one was wild. Tell me about this one.
To be honest, this one I was like running out of ideas, and I have an Instagram. I go through like some accounts and see videos, and some of them make sense for building an interaction, and I bookmark them, and then I go through that folder of bookmarks and see what makes sense to build and what's next. And I just wanted to give this one a try. This is what is just random rotation in every axis and just duplicate. Like now, it's really trendy to duplicate typography, duplicate things, and I thought it might work, and this is the result.
Yeah, it's so hypnotizing. And there again, like for anyone who's watching, all of these were just so much fun. And this is variable fonts, just like kind of some of the possibilities there. And just cool seeing that come together.
Yeah, I really like as well these loader animations that are here, like close to this one in the main view of all the clonables.
So which one? This one?
No, to the top a little bit. The next, to this one.
Geometric shapes.
Yeah, this. Yeah, so this one. What I like here, I really like simplicity. And here's one single interaction. There's only one interaction and one single element being animated.
Wow.
And it's just the position of the elements that makes the final result. So that's sort of things I like. Like you can build really impressive visual things with one or two steps interactions.
If you were to give feedback to the team, and at Webflow on, like, you've obviously pushed it in, ways that it was maybe not expected. What would you want to see from the kind of like interactions panel, or what would make your job easier for a lot of this stuff?
So I've spoken with a few of them, with the internal team a little sometimes, and first thing would be to have the out animation, like the like mouse out or second click, to just click reverse, where it will take the first interaction and just reverse it. That one would be one thing. The other thing would be there are too many clicks when you interact with the interaction UI, to reduce that. And I know this. I think it's not gonna come, but staggering animations, like not do. Now I need to do it manually and give different class names to be able to stagger those, and a way of just saying I want to animate this animation and just make it a stagger. That's one thing that I would really enjoy. But I think an overhaul of the interactions panel, I think, would be a nice addition. I don't know if it would something that makes sense right now, because as interaction as well and movement is getting kind of, but not bad comments, but like people are getting too crazy with movement.
Yeah.
And I think that the effort should reside now on like making better components, attaching them to the CMS, and to increase scalability of Webflow projects and handling off to clients. That's where. But yeah, if they give attention to the access panels, those would be my 2 points.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on improving components. I think that could go a long way to reducing a lot of the fragility that you can have within Webflow. And again, the fragility is just it's a result of, hey, lots of control here for clients and authors. So unlike, like anyone can jump in and start to make things. And I think components right now, it's like there's performance issues. Like they're okay, they're fine, but they're just not like, it's not I would love to see more investment there, is what I would say. So
this one, and also
this is just masking. Is that right?
Yeah. Here are four. Like you see those two circles, but there are actually four of them. Like two halves, two have in the left and two have in the right, and then the right positioning, so you can see how they like that feeling of one going up on top and then going below.
That's incredible.
And I have this thought, like now that I've done this and I've seen also the reaction from people and also people liking more the portfolio items, I think because Webflow is full of designers, and that's right, and that's correct. But what this has mean that maybe Webflow has really released a lot of features for designers, and we need to start focusing on how we're going to deliver value to our clients. And I think that's why components would make more sense more than improving interactions, because there's more value on giving power to the client than making a nice loading and animation or a transition. Those are more for awards and more for the design community, more than delivering value to the final business that want to drive more clicks or more traffic or whatever.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think I would say even the marketing, right? So Webflow does a great job of marketing to builders. I would love for there to be more marketing to buyers, so that there's more of a market for builders, if that makes sense. Because it's like everyone already loves building in Webflow. It's like we don't have to be sold on the power of no code or anything like that. It's more like, let's have some stuff so that people and like a VP and a corporation's like super excited about how it's going to deliver value for their team.
Yeah. So that's why also I said in the beginning, I'm changing. Like I started Bookmark for brand agencies, but I see that the real value I can provide is to build really scalable, like content heavy websites to final clients. They and change the conversation from I'm going to deliver a website to I'm going to deliver a marketing solution for you.
Yeah.
And the work I need to do is probably the same, but the way I frame it and the way I give it to you and I prepare it to you changes. And
Totally.
I think there's where because I'm on this journey. I've been too focused on what I wanted, and now I realize that I need to focus on what I'm going to deliver, how I'm going to help others succeed. And yeah, I'm in this journey right now.
Yeah, I'm that's like almost an exact line from how we sell. So I often say, like, I'm not delivering a website, I'm delivering a set of configured marketing tools, and that we're going to configure everything from like how your CRM is working and making sure that, you know, you've got that cash register that's opened up for your customers, and then how your internal team can go in and market and, you know, understand the analytics that you guys in the data, and then how to be able to react to that without having to call me. Right. So it's not that I don't want to talk with my clients, but I want them to be able to feel empowered to, you know, author those experiences themselves. Yeah. So any last clones that you want me to look at before I close out here?
No, just wanted to mention that those, and at the top, I think from number 85 or so, and onwards, that's where I started to make more portfolio based stuff that you can actually clone and use on your projects. And I've been having a lot of attention. Webflow also has like celebrate those. And yeah, this one, for example, is everything native, and it's crazy, you know, like I didn't know like this was possible until I did it. And there's a funny story here. The person, this is a work something did on their side with WebGL. I just redid it here in Webflow, and he wasn't really sure. He was liking me sharing this as a clonable, and yeah, I kind of get it on one side because I've been a designer myself, but on the other hand, I could say this is not his work, because at the end we're using the tools the browser gives us, the language, and yeah, but yeah, that's another conversation for another topic, like all this thing about replicating or being inspired by others. And
yeah, well, I think, you know, just looking at this as, I mean, you know, as you said from the very beginning, it's a series of covers. And by that, like, you're taking things that were either static or potentially built differently, and then showing how through native interactions, or maybe with a little bit of code, you've got, you know, one or two in here where, like these, where you've used, you know, ChatGPT, but how by and large, like, these were all defined visually, and, you know, just being able to, you know, on this one, like, I duplicated it, I added an extra div, I did like a hello world on here. And it was great to just see that, and as well to be able to see the sort of evolution between, you know, the sort of incline scroll into kind of adding like a little bit of depth into that. So
I have to say that I'm really happy that that you're giving me this opportunity. For me, I'm really excited speaking about that, and just letting know a little bit to the people the story behind those, and what made me jump into this challenge. And yeah, I really appreciate being able to do it in this space.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, like, I'm just I am a huge fan of what you've built. Also, just for anyone, it's, you know, we've worked in the past. You're amazing to work with. You're super fast, super diligent, and, you know, definitely just a joy when, you know, we've been on projects together. So I'm really excited with what you're building. And I think as well, and, you know, as you're talking about just like ways to be able to deliver value to clients, and especially right now where it's a really, you know, challenging market. I don't know how business has been for you, but for us, it was a super turbulent first quarter. I would say it was like, what did I was thinking the other day on my run, it was like, you know, heavy turbulence with, you know, dashes of opportunity. Like, we still had a good first quarter, but man, just seeing like our, you know, marketing teams either fully getting, you know, laid off or scaling down or trying to figure out what they're going to do next. There's a lot there. And so looking at ways to, one, like, have some pieces where you can attract, different ways of working, just like you've done here, but then also how to get into more of that content design and what that means for clients and how they can author faster.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've learned here is that I like really the interaction part and the design part, but I know that I need to transition into more that value conversation on how I'm gonna be able to deliver that value. And I think everyone who is on this space and looking for clients should start framing their their practice as that, like knowing where they are providing value more than I do Webflow websites. You know that you also mentioned it, that doing Webflow website is already being commoditized. So is as soon as you get out of that hole is the best.
Yeah. Something that I think, so Whit, who's on here, we've been talking a lot around like how to, the big shift that's happening in the market is obviously like AI, but what's AI going to mean for the website? I think is a question. Like for a long time, for 24 years, like the web has been optimized for search. And now like all of a sudden we need to think about optimizing for answers. So what happens when someone doesn't visit your website? Like how are you going in and kind of compartmentalizing the content in a way where all of that is interlinked and that it's almost becoming like a well-designed data source where people visit after they have an answer and then need to be able to validate or be able to get additional details on that. So I think that's one of the things that's going to be happening really quickly. And, just as you were saying, thinking about authoring, thinking about this more broadly, getting into search, like search is a really good fundamental for having a well-formatted and performance site and being able to have a little bit more of that kind of longer tail value that can be added to a project.
Yeah, and I like that you bring that point about AI and how people are gonna search for information now in the web, because that's gonna also shape how websites are built. Not only AI is gonna help build faster for the web, but also on the other side, it will change how people interact with the web and how people reach, like how sites generate traffic as well. So yeah, we need to keep an eye there.
Yeah. And the good news is, so it's scary, right? So I mean,
it's scary. It's scary.
Like as a business owner and like built a practice on, content and design and Webflow and all sorts of stuff. And then thinking about that changing really quickly. The good news is that as we look at, okay, people are still going to need to have a presence. And, one of my favorite quotes is like, never waste a crisis. And so Webflow offers high levels of malleability so that we can go through and make the adjustments that need to be made to address like everything that's going to be happening in the market. So I think that's where, that speed to market and that malleability will pay off. And I think positions this community in a really, really good way.
Yeah. And I was thinking that, what I was thinking about, like you said about the crisis, like every crisis is a good opportunity. And I think also the good way to navigate the crisis is that in the end, Webflow or what you do is a result of something else. So having a clear idea of what you are doing or why are you doing that for your clients will help you know what's your next step when a big change like this one is happening in the world, like AI, and be able to grab new tools or grab new workflows to keep doing what you do with the new technology that is available.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, it's just amazing to hang out with you today. Like this has been a good excuse for me to just like nerd out on all of your clones and, let me, know how you're progressing with clones or whatever you're, obviously I'll see you on Twitter there, but this has been a great conversation today.
Yeah, thank you, Mason. Thank you, the Edgar Allan team, for this opportunity. I also love to nerd about Webflow and what can be done there and other stuff. And thank you for the opportunity. I'll keep posting things on Twitter. And I don't know if there's any remaining question or
yeah, let's make sure we've got questions here.
Happy to answer
so
them.
Pablo, I haven't been looking at the questions. If you've got some that we want to, we've got one here. Pablo is saying, would love if Webflow would add more CSS properties that can be modified with interactions. Also being able to add or remove classes to an element with an interaction.
I think those are great.
Yeah, I think that having more class level control, it would just be phenomenal. Let's see, Dale, you've got here the business acumen paired with interesting Webflow conversation. Thanks. I'm glad you've enjoyed this. And let's see. Whit and I were talking a lot around like moving to no code, so KNOW code, especially as it's paired with AI. So just knowing the basics of like kind of what you want, and then kind of seeing what happens from there. Let's see.
Here's a question about if I use my clonables as a way to solve actual client build challenges, and the answer is no. Not really. As I said, the initial was to impress these brand agencies I wanted to work with, and to see that I was really capable to do things in Webflow. But yeah, I'm more turning into that on what he's saying of how to solve business problems with Webflow.
Awesome. Jose, good to see you over Meatballs. I don't even know what they got.
Metaballs.
Yeah.
It says metaballs, I don't know.
Oh, metaballs. Oh.
Yeah.
I was like, meatballs. I read like this spell sometimes. Awesome. Yeah, well, this has been a great conversation. So cool to hang out with you, Matias. I'll see you on Twitter, and we'll talk more.